I'm assuming that Gurji meant it when he said once he leaves his body, he will use all his teachers at the ashram as radios. And he will answer questions, and he will provide the energy and provide even the wit, I think. Sometimes it feels awfully like Gurji when we have these fun times during the satsang. Because very serious things are being said and serious transformations going on, but we're enjoying ourselves. And it was like that. It's like that with all the great masters. Because they're most of the time intoxicated on that wine of Kali. They are drunkards, but they're not drinking what we drink. They're drinking something much headier than that. So if you don't have questions, I'm going to take what I felt when I read it, is a fascinating topic. I won't tell you the author or the teacher yet. You can guess, that's more fun. But it comes from a book called Intuition. And the topic is barriers to knowing. And the first barrier that he's speaking about is knowledge. See, you come here, it's dangerous. You always thought knowledge was what you needed. Up to a point, we needed. After that point, apparently it's a barrier. What is the difference between knowledge and knowing? In the dictionary, there is no difference. But in existence, there is a tremendous difference. Knowledge is a theory. Knowing is an experience. Knowing means you open your eyes and you see. Knowledge means somebody else has opened his eyes and he has seen, and then he talks about it, and you simply go on gathering that information. Knowledge is possible even if you are blind. Knowledge is possible. Without eyes, you can learn many things about light. But knowing is not possible. Knowing about light directly is not possible if you are blind. Knowing is possible only if your eyes are healed, cured, if you can see. I was studying when I first met him in 1963, ophthalmology. He was studying eye surgery. Afterwards, years afterwards, I found that remarkable. If it were a dream and our guru was studying eye surgery, I would say, I know the symbolism of that. He's studying how to cure our vision, how to operate on our vision to make sure that we see reality, not what's unreal. He had many degrees besides ophthalmology, but it's so symbolic, especially hearing this. Knowing is possible only if your eyes are healed, cured, if you can see. Knowing is authentically your experience. Knowledge is pseudo. Knowledge is a curse, a calamity. Who is this talking? Who is this outrageous guru? Not him. He could talk like that. Osho. Who else? Rajneesh. Gurji loved Rajneesh's talks. For any of you who do not know, anybody not know who Rajneesh is, Rajneesh? Oh, did you hear about the guru with 98 Rolls Royces? That was Osho. That was Rajneesh. He used all these Rolls Royces were given to him by his disciples as a joke, his wealthy disciples. He used a different Rolls Royce every day to drive around his compound. And he took Rolls Royce number 2. It had to do, it seemed, I'm not sure, nobody ever knows the motivation of anybody, especially the gurus. But he was showing how little these things meant to him or should mean to the ones who gave them away to him. So it was a great lesson. They began to take wealth as it should be taken. If it comes, fine, spread it around. If it doesn't come, you have a different wealth, a different richness that wealthy people do not have. That was Rajneesh, and Gurji loved his talks. These are all talks, not writings. But he understood that Rajneesh was better read than met, because he was rather wild in his approach to meditation. He called his meditation, so that you will understand that I'm not just giving my opinion, he called his meditation chaotic meditation. He taught people to meditate through chaos. That's all. Just to show you that it's better to choose these readings. Also, he changed over the course of his life. One of the reasons being that came out in the material written about him as his background. When he first came from India, his talks were different, were on a very, very high level. Later they began to include ethnic jokes and this and that. You had to pick out what was so profound and marvelous. When I chose to read something, I took out that part. We later learned that he was suffering great pain from gout and rheumatism, arthritis. So he was taking, without understanding now, he didn't have the knowledge of a medical doctor. He was taking great doses of Valium. And the wonder is that with all that in him, that he could still speak so brilliantly, still speak so in such a way that there was instant transformation on the part of the people, had many, many people listening to him. And we're still reading him. It is through knowledge that man becomes divided from the whole. For knowledge creates the distance between the whole of existence and your perception of it. Knowledge creates the distance between you and the universe and existence. You come across a wildflower in the mountains, and you don't know what that is. It's a wildflower. So your mind has nothing to say about it. Your mind is silent. You look at the flower, you see the flower, but no knowledge about the flower arises in you. So there is wonder. There is mystery. The flower is there. You are there. Through wonder, you are not separate. You are bridged. But if you know that this is a rose or a marigold or something else, that very knowledge disconnects you. The flower is there. You are here. But there's no bridge because you know. Knowledge creates distance. Something happened this afternoon that just came to my mind. A mother brought her 8-year-old daughter here for the first time. And I found them when they were at the bottom of these stairs, and I could see there was a discussion going on. And the little girl had a sullen look on her face, as if she were losing whatever was going on, losing the argument or losing the discussion. and she was like, brooding. Her mother, on the other hand, kept touching her and saying, well, and the girl was... Then she caught sight of me, the little girl, and gave me a dirty look. She blamed everything on me because her mother had described this lady, white dress, and isn't she becoming... She wanted the little girl to go up to the temple and meditate with us. And the little girl obviously did not know what that was. But she didn't want to go. She instinctively knew not to go. So I went over and I said, are you talking about going upstairs for the meditation? And she went. I said, you don't want to go upstairs? Wouldn't answer me. I was the enemy. And her mother said, well, yeah, we were talking about it. I told her we'd stay just a little while, and then we'd come down and join your group for questions, and she could ask a question. And that little head went down, down, down. I said, what's your name? Her mother said, her name is Tal. Her mother was very troubled by what she was doing. I said, Tal, you know what I think? I think you and your mother should skip that and go for a walk. I saw what she looked like finally. I said, no, the leaves are going to crunch under your feet. I said, you can see our swimming pool where you'll go in the summer, and maybe Mother will take you to the gift shop and buy you something to eat. And little faint smile, And I said, go, don't. And you don't even have to come for the question and answer. Well, they came, the question and answer. And she was totally open. They came a little late, but she was listening and smiling. And at the end, she went up to the Ganesh little altar there, and she was staring at the candle, at the flame. And I said to her, do you like fire? She said, I always like fire. I always like fire. I said, you like this elephant god? Oh, it's Ganesh. She said, I know. So she knew something. Now, this is the best part. At the end of the afternoon program, they came to say goodbye. They were staying for dinner, but not for tonight. And she's a beautiful little girl. She's got some, what'd she tell me? I think it might be Native American in her. Not sure. But she has a mixture of countries. Looks Indian, in fact. But I said, you know, Tal, what you can do for me? I haven't hugged a little girl in a long time. Do you think you could give me a hug? She said, that would be all right. She hugged me. And I thanked her, and it was delicious, as only a 9-year-old can hug you very gently. Tonight, they came back for something. I forgot what. They had left something here, and I met the three of them, our Indian guest, Shankar Mitra, who had brought them. And I asked if they had a nice day. The little girl did not stop smiling at me. She just kept smiling. And I said, well, I hope to see you all again. Guess what she did? Now, just imagine if she had been forced to go upstairs. What memory she would take back of this ashram. Now, she didn't need to go to meditation. She didn't need to get any knowledge. Now she knows there's love here, there's acceptance here, there's kindness here, there's sweetness here, there's a grandmother here. She doesn't know why I'm dressed this way, but I feel like a grandmother too. I sound like a grandmother. Grandmothers are always much more understanding with grandchildren than they were with their own children. They let them go. But Gurji was like that. Gurji never forced anything. You would feel something growing inside you, a need to go to program or a feeling to do service, but that's how he was working, through thought projection, this way and this way. But outwardly he would never force. The only thing he would urge us to do regularly is meditate, and to live meditatively, meaning alert. So what is being said here is not alien. We understand this, we know this, it's not unknown, but we need reminders. The more you know, the bigger the distance between you and existence. The more you know, the less you know. The less you know, the lesser the distance. And if you are in a moment of not knowing, there is no distance at all. You are bridged. You fall in love with a woman or a man. This is going to be a little painful. So, if you don't want any pain, leave the room for 5 minutes. Because it's so true. We don't like to hear it sometimes, because it's so true. You fall in love with a woman or a man. The day you fall in love, there's no distance. There's only wonder. There's a thrill, an excitement, an ecstasy. But there's no knowledge the day you fall in love. You don't know who this woman is. You don't know who this man is. Without knowledge, there's nothing to divide you. Therefore, the beauty of those first moments of love. Once you have lived with the woman, even for 24 hours, knowledge has arisen. Now you have some ideas about the woman. You know who she is, because now there is an image. 24 hours have created a past. Those 24 hours have left marks on your mind. You look at the same woman. There's no longer the same mystery. You're coming down the hill. That peak is lost. He's not saying that you don't love. He's not saying that you can't be with each other. But he's saying it's not the same. From that moment when there was a mystery, when you felt this, what Gurji would call an old connection, without knowing anything about the person. You felt an intimacy, a familiarity. According to Gurji, it's the souls connecting again. But no knowledge, you don't know. It's fantastic. Did it ever happen to you? No? See me later. I have many women who would be very happy to give you that peak experience. And if it's a Vedantic relationship, you just have to have that experience, no 24 hours. Hello and goodbye. I'm only joking. Because as some of you know, Dharmadev and I have been married a long time. This month, 58 years. Long time. But if we hadn't met Gurji and understood to meet each other brand new, without any memory, without any knowledge, it couldn't work that we ended up such good friends. Couldn't work. Because you have to be able to drop the past in order for a relationship to be really a relationship. It should be a relationship each and every moment. Whether it's angry or not angry, or loving or not loving, at least it's the reality. And then you drop it for the new moment. You all understand that? That's what's being said here. You don't create distance because you have a memory of what he said, what he did yesterday, what I did, what I said yesterday. That's what interferes with the oneness that exists of the moment. It takes work. takes some work in the beginning because we're so accustomed to dwelling on things past, keeping it alive, which is very bad. Let it go at the end of the day. Just kiss goodnight, and that's it. And wake up tomorrow. It's actually easier when you get older because it's hard to remember what. I realize that every Saturday when I give this little speech. It's much easier to forget what did you say? You know, I knew I'm mad at you, but why was I mad? We can do that when we're young. There's no reason we can't have a lovely relationship with someone. Okay. To understand this is to understand a lot. To understand that knowledge divides, that knowledge creates distance, is to understand the very secret of meditation. Meditation is a state of not knowing. Meditation is pure space, undisturbed by knowledge. Yes, the biblical story is true, that man has fallen through knowledge. By eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge, man has fallen. It's all symbolic, but very true symbolism. No other scripture of the world surpasses that symbolism. That parable is the last word. No other parable has reached to that height and that insight. It seems so illogical that man has fallen through knowledge. It seems illogical because logic is part of knowledge. Logic is all in support of knowledge. It seems illogical because logic is the root cause of man's fall. Man, women. That biblical parable has immense insight. Why has man fallen through knowledge? Because knowledge creates distance. Because knowledge creates I and thou. I and you. Because knowledge creates subject and object. Creates the knower and the known. The observer and the observed. Knowledge is basically schizophrenic. It creates a split, and then there's no way to bridge it. Guruji often said about us that many of us are leading schizophrenic lives because we live a life of materialism in the world with our family members, and then we meditate and we feel intimate with the whole of creation, that the whole planet is our family. Then how do you relate to Anstel? And they feel it after a while. They feel that I had many relatives when I would say I love them. I love you, Ann Carey. Oh, you love everybody. She was very annoyed because she knew that this is the work that we do. It meant nothing to her that I loved the rest of the universe. She didn't like that. I had to love her. But won't go more with that. That's why the more man has become knowledgeable, the less he is truly religious. The more educated a man, the less is the possibility for him or her to approach the whole. Jesus is right when he says, only children will be able to enter into my kingdom. Only children. What is the quality that a child has and we have lost? The child has the quality of non-knowledge, innocence. He looks with wonder. She went over to the Ganesh, magnificent statue. It's marvelous looking, very expensive. She hardly looked at it. What was she looking at? The flame. I had lit the candle. And she looked with wonder, and I assure you, when she goes back home, she will remember not Ganesh, but the flame and the lady who hugged her. Because that's what children like. The children like direct contact. The child looks with wonder. His eyes are absolutely clear. He looks deep, but he has no prejudices. He looks deep, but he has no judgments, no a priori ideas. He does not project, therefore he comes to know that which is. The child knows the truth. You know only the mundane reality. Ooh, the mundane reality. We take pride that we know reality. It's mundane. The child really knows, and the child knows through wonder. The reality is that which you have created around yourself by projecting that reality, desiring, thinking. The reality is your interpretation of truth. Truth is simply that which is. Reality is that which you have come to understand. It is your idea of the truth. Reality consists of things for you, all separate. Truth consists of only one cosmic energy. Truth consists of oneness. Reality consists of manyness. Truth consists of oneness. Reality consists of manyness. Reality is a crowd. Truth is integration. Reality is a crowd. That's what made him so uneasy. He's just talking extemporaneously. Imagine how brilliant. J. Krishnamurti has said, to negate is silence. To negate what? He meant to negate our accumulated knowledge, to negate mind, to negate this constant occupation inside you. This is almost through, 5 more minutes. To create an unoccupied space, that means to negate in this language. When you are unoccupied, you are in tune with the whole. When you are occupied, you have fallen out of tune. Therefore, whenever it happens that you can attain a moment of silence, there is immense joy in you. Real silence. We give a silent retreat here, probably in May. Every year we give it. And people are silent from Friday night till Sunday afternoon. And in the beginning it's they're a little nervous about it. But in the middle, they begin to recognize, because they're not talking, I'm talking, they're not talking. They begin to recognize that they haven't been silent inside for years and years and years. They've always occupied their minds with something. And now, this doesn't mean just you don't talk. It means that you're in touch with what's happening with you inside. You're in touch with the roses and the clouds and the geese flying overhead, because you're avoiding eye contact with other people. 60 people come, and I would say 45 of them are returnees every year, because they have recognized that there should be at least one weekend in their life when they're just in touch with themselves, not worried about making others comfortable. How much of our life, how much of your life, you look like a very kind person to me, how much of your life do you spend making others comfortable and happy?
80%.
I could see she had a very kind, sweet face. And it's probably 80% for all of us. If we're here at this ashram, most of the time we're trying not to disturb people, trying to help people, but we're not. Unless you're very neurotic and you're self-absorbed all the time, we do spend a lot of time trying to help somebody we like or love, right? We do, because people are in trouble. Almost finished. Whenever it happens that you can attain a moment of silence, you'll find there is immense joy in that moment. For in that moment, life, your life, has significance. In that moment, your life has a grandeur beyond words. In that moment, your life is a dance. In that moment, if even death comes, it will be a dance and a celebration, because that moment knows nothing but joy. That moment is joyous, is blissful. So knowledge has to be negated. Knowledge that we need, no. Knowledge that we need to function, we're not talking about that knowledge. We're talking about everything else that we think is knowledge, that we think is important. Knowledge that we need to function, to do our job, to relate to people, yes. But as I said, the best relationships happen when we drop everything we know about anybody every day and come and meet them afresh. Knowledge has to be negated, but not because I'm saying so, or because J. Krishnamurti says so, or because Gautam Buddha has said so. If you negate because I'm saying so, then you will negate your knowledge, and whatsoever I am saying will become your new knowledge in its place. Whatsoever I say then becomes your knowledge, and you start clinging to that. You throw out your old idols and you replace them with new ones. But it's the same game, played with new words, new ideas, new thoughts. I wouldn't be taking this topic. I know for some of you it sounds like a lot, and it is. But I wouldn't be taking it if I didn't think it held the key to your living a much better life. But there's too much sadness in our life. There's too much worry. There's too much anxiety. There's too much loneliness. There's too much fear. I know, because we've been involved with these teachings in Guruji for almost 50 years, the two of us. So we've watched thousands of people come through this door. And we've heard so many questions. And people are for them. Is there anybody here this minute who's really very, very happy? So that's your first. Is that why you came here? Because you wanted to show everybody how happy you were? I don't think so. Otherwise you'd be the strangest group we've ever had. Because most people come to this ashram because they're in some kind of inner pain. They have questions, if not about their own suffering, then about the suffering all around us. Suffering is one of Buddha's chief topics. He said the world will be full of suffering unless you understand you are not separate from the world. If you understand that you and the world are in consciousness, that this is just a panorama, what they call a lila, a great play. Who said it? Not me. I didn't say that. I listened to that. I read that every enlightened being said this is all a play. We can only see through tunnel vision a little 70-year speck of what we've been living for thousands of years. It's a speck. This lifetime, according to Guruji, is only 1 minute long. Why do you think drowning people, just before they drown, and then they're rescued, see only highlights? So many have said that. I just saw highlights. 4 things happened before my eyes that my consciousness had seen as being vital to this lifetime. Maybe there are 4 happenings in our life that were transformative, that will guarantee, or either that we have to repeat this lifetime again, exactly, or will guarantee that we will be catapulted in a brand new family, brand new life. We get to choose. We have that choice. So I'm not reading this because it's interesting. I'm reading it because when I read it to myself, even an old timer like me got excited. I said, this is so important. This is what I have to read. I always choose just before the weekend. Something that grabs me, I know will grab you. But if we're not ready, we kind of pull away from it, and it will take form. It's like seeds, Gurdjieff said, are being planted. I'm throwing out seeds. We don't have to understand everything. But one day, we'll be amazed at a new insight we have. Perhaps not remembering that we're given the seed tonight through these readings. You get a new insight, and you think, wow, how come I never saw that before? That I can decide if this is going to be a good day or not. That I'm in charge of this mind, imagining I'm suffering. I can control this mind. I've got the reins. As the witnessing eye, I can do that. Where did I hear that? We used to do that with his talks all the time. 10 years after he said something, we find ourselves saying it to one another. And Marv would say, Dharmadev would say, did Gurdjieff say that? I said, he must have. Who else could have spoken like that? So now it comes. How to negate knowledge. Not with other knowledge. Just seeing that knowledge creates distance. Just seeing into this fact intensely, totally, is enough. Not that you have to replace it with something else. In Zen Buddhism, they say there is right thinking and wrong thinking. They may as well have said there is right thinking, there's right knowledge and wrong knowledge. Anybody know what right thinking is? No? You don't? No? She's looking like she knows. According to the Zen Buddhists, right thinking is necessary thinking. Wrong thinking is everything else. So we laugh, but I laugh too, but it's serious, this. How much energy, how much of our power we expend in unnecessary thinking, unnecessary worrying, unnecessary fear. It's silly. It's silly. Final few sentences. How to negate knowledge? Not with other knowledge, just seeing into this fact that knowledge creates distance between you and your real life, between you and real existence, between you and your real peace and power. Knowledge creates that distance. Just seeing into this fact intensely, totally, is enough. Not that you have to replace it with something else, because that intensity is fire. That intensity will reduce your knowledge to ashes. Ooh. That intensity is enough. That intensity is what is known as insight. Insight will burn your knowledge, and it will not be replaced by other knowledge. Then there is emptiness. Shunyata. That's the name in Sanskrit. Shunyata. For emptiness. Then there is nothingness. Because then there is no content. There is only undisturbed, undistorted truth. We've had many people come to this ashram, many great people, great speakers, great scholars. And it became very apparent to us that the scholars, very great men, very well-known men, were saying very powerful statements, making powerful statements. Very interesting, fascinating, maybe some things we'd never heard before. Some of them were physicists. Some of them in the early years were connected to the United Nations. People from all over the world. We had very distinguished guests. But we had a chance to compare the guests. And sometimes a very simple, uneducated man, like Sri Nisargadatta would come. Not interested in education, had always been very pious, very sweet. He couldn't speak a word of English. I'm thinking of one man, could not speak a word of English. But he smiled at you, and he would tell things to any Indian person we had in the room. He would speak Hindi, and he would tell things, and a few words were given out to us, but we hardly heard them because we had our eyes closed. Because that simple man brought presence of some higher consciousness, uneducated. He wasn't telling us anything, just little things like, I'm glad to be here, I'm glad to see you. And you tell when we talk. He said, you already have one sage here, pointed to Gurji, so you don't need anything from me. And then he would go. And we would do the same. Because he had presence. He had presence of God. Godliness. Oh, I didn't know you came. Hello. People are back in the other room. I'm sorry, I would have spoken louder. I didn't notice you there. I'm just saying that when we reach that point, when we know to dive into that intensity and immensity, then we too will have that presence. That all we need is sit in front of a group. We can talk, we don't have to talk. But people will just be happy sitting with you and in front of you. Like the little girl. The little girl felt totally accepted, unconditional love, and the best hugs are the ones that come unasked. That came, it was one of the best hugs I ever got. Because she started out, remember, giving me a dirty look. So what won her over? Love, I absolutely loved her. But also total acceptance of what she was, without making any demands that she be different from a little girl who just wanted to go for a walk and get some ice cream maybe. And so she has very, very sweet and deep memories of this ashram now. And she will want to come back. So any questions about this? Who remembers right from the beginning how he defined the difference between knowing and knowledge? Knowing means what?
Freedom.
Freedom, and to open your eyes. Knowledge means you're seeing through someone else's eyes. Right? What Krishnamurti called second-hand knowledge. It's not our direct knowledge, which we get by experiencing it ourselves. One person this afternoon asked the difference between this approach to meditation, that approach, written up in I think, fundamentals of yoga. And what is the difference and what is more? And I said, according to Gurji, what is more is the one that helps you the most. What works? Try them all. The definition won't help you. The description won't help you. Your experimenting with them will help. Whatever works is the better meditation for you, the better approach for you. Yes, good. Finally a question.
So then I guess within the context of what you're saying is, so reading the book about different meditation styles and different yoga styles is gathering the knowledge, and then experimenting with all of them and finding one that fits you is knowing.
That's right. That's direct knowing. But when it happens, it's like the mind is out of the way because it's your insight. The book is called Intuition. It's your intuition that gives you direct knowing. You couldn't call it knowledge because that's a theory. All knowledge is a theory. But knowing is your insight. You're seeing under. It's your direct contact with truth each time. Gurji, after many years of urging us to read this and read that, he had us reading all the masters, all the teachings. Then he told, now you put the books down. Now you just witness. Now go outside, we look at the moon. And we would go out and spend hours watching the full moon, just opening ourselves to the full moon. He said, this is meditation, not dry talk. So we would say, Guruji, you wrote many books. Why did you write many books? He said, the books are for after you have your direct experience, to confirm that what you had is authentic. But you don't read the books in order to have the experience. You read the books to confirm the experience. So, but remember, don't forget that he first urged us to read. To read. So we had some feeling for what was coming. If you read others' experiences, you feel a little more ready to jump into the unknown. If you keep reading one after the other as having the same experience. But the best experience is your own. Is your own. As he said, we always read it around Easter time. Someone else's resurrection will not be your resurrection. I told you, it's very funny. Very funny, and yet when you think about it, it's very serious. That no one can give you that experience. Everything has to be you. Everything along the way is preparation for it. Tonight was a preparation. You got a little taste of that kind of out-of-the-box thinking, revolutionary thinking. But your doing it requires an act of bravery, some courage, because it means breaking from your old habits. We have our old habits of escaping into knowledge, right? Escaping into books, escaping into meditation or prayer. We would go there because the world is too harsh. But to hear, no, you meditate on the world. You meditate on the flowers, on the film. You don't close your eyes when bad things happen in films. You keep them open if you went to see that film. Unless it's, going to disturb your sleep completely. But having kept my eyes open through my own dramas, which were very painful. We all had painful childhoods for the most part. My eyes were open for that. It gave me the right sometime when I saw something similar happening on the screen. Then I could close my eyes. I've been through that. I don't need to go back there. But if you haven't experienced that, and it tells about others' pain, it's better to see that than to close your eyes, because it puts you in touch with compassion, with people whom you might not like, but you certainly can feel for. Books, novels, film, poetry, drama, dance, everything is life, and we shouldn't hide from it. Guruji watched CNN whenever he had spare time. CNN, the news, because he didn't want to be separate from it. He wanted to know, he wanted to feel what was happening with the world. And then he would come and talk to us about it, how we should understand others through our own pain, and understand that nothing is anybody's fault. It's the result of condition. But he got it from CNN. He didn't get it from a musical comedy. Or sometimes he did get it from a musical. His favorite show, other than CNN, there was a sitcom called The Jeffersons. He loved that show. He said, this reminds you about householder life, that you should avoid it whenever possible. But he loved it. He loved divorce court. You know, he kept, that was his network. It was like CNN for him became, or television became Facebook. There was no Facebook in those days. He kept in touch with everybody through these sitcoms that we were watching. Okay, any questions? It's 10 after 9. It's a good time to stop. Any questions at all? Time to go. Who said that? She's one of my best friends. She's allowed to say that. We like to finish with music. Is there anybody who would volunteer to complete tonight with some music? Harmonium or guitar or singing or what? Anybody want to volunteer?
There's a guitar around.
You want to sing and play the guitar? You have to bring the guitar.